How's it going, gamers? Chongo here, and today I've got a gameplay commentary for you guys. The gameplay is of Cube World on the PC, and today's commentary topic is about an article I read recently to do with the possibility of Australians getting cheaper games and IT prices. So anyway, let's get into it. So I wasn't really planning on making this video since I only heard the news last night, but it sounded like a good topic and fairly interesting. Now, this is going to be most likely interesting to more Australians, but if you are from another country, you might find this interesting. It's just it probably won't apply to you as much as if you are Australian. So anyway, the article or report has revealed that the Australian tax is real. Now, my understanding of this is they're basically saying if you're selling something in Australia, you up the price to get more money. And I think this has been happening for a while now. People just, companies, when they go to release something in Australia, release it for such a high price and they think people are just going to buy it. And a great deal of people do, because we don't really have another option unless you want to get something illegal. So it's kind of unfair to us, and this has been happening for a while. Like I said, I think there was a while back where it was cheaper to hop on a plane and fly to America and buy a copy of some Adobe software and come back to Australia than it was to buy it online. And people thought that was ridiculous, and myself included, that we have to go and do that, and we could actually get something cheaper than if we bought it over the internet legally. So this report that was done by the infrastructure and communications, like this report on IT pricing and all this kind of stuff, has said that they find it extremely bad for digital content, because there is sort of a price in Australia when it comes to physical content, because it does cost a lot of money to ship out here, as well as our wages. But they've been very damning of online content, because you shouldn't have to have the same price online, because you don't have to pay shipping costs, you don't have to pay wages if you're entirely based in America or another country. So people were wondering why these prices are still extreme online for Australians. So the House of Representatives and the Committee on Infrastructure and Communications have basically recommended to the government that they should amend the Copyright Act of 1968, I believe, and allow users to get around geo-blocking. So geo-blocking, for those who don't know about it, or if you're in America you may not really have experienced it that much, it's where, for example, if I'm Australian and I go to a certain site that's an American-only site or something, it's going to block me from accessing that content or move me on to the Australian equivalent where there's higher prices. So basically, if this comes into effect, it's going to be really awkward, because technically, we could then go around geo-blocking, and that could be fine and legal according to our country. Now, I'm not sure what kind of backlash is going to be from companies who don't want this to happen, because legally, if this comes into effect, we are allowed to do it. So if this happens, it means we could possibly see some cheaper prices on Steam, because we would be behind it and we'd be getting the American version of the prices. But I'm not 100% sure if this is actually going to come into effect, because this is just recommending. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen, but if it does, it probably won't come into effect for the next couple of years anyway. So I think it's kind of good that they've acknowledged that there's definitely something wrong with these prices here, especially with online content, because you shouldn't have to pay shipping cost and all that kind of stuff, so games should not be that high a price, or just software in general. Now, I found this site that compares prices on Steam for games, and I thought it would be interesting because it compares them between Australia, US, and the UK. So I just typed in Call of Duty and had a look at some of the Call of Duty prices. Call of Duty 1 and 2 and War Chest, whatever that is, are all the same price in the US and Australia, which is odd because our dollar at the moment is actually under the US, but it's still the same price. And I've checked this with my Steam, and it's the same price for Australia. I obviously can't check it for US, but I thought that was interesting. And then you go to something like Black Ops 1, which in America at the moment on Steam is $40, and in Australia it's $90. So this has got people saying, why is there a $50 price increase on a game, number one, that's old as hell? I don't know why it's going for that much to begin with. And not only that, but there's no shipping costs, and there's nothing else that they have to pay for that $50. It's almost like this publisher's just pocketing this extra money from Australia. I also think it's kind of weird that some game prices can be the same in both countries and others can't. That sort of implies that technically they'd be making the right amount of money if it was the same price. They didn't need to increase it for Australia. So I think that this is actually a good thing. Hopefully this will lead to cheaper prices for Australians, especially with online content, because that seems like the way where things are going. I think in the future, obviously, digital distribution is going to be a big thing. So it'd be good if we could get reasonable prices, considering you don't have to pay all these costs to get to Australia. The only cost you've got to pay is pretty much providing us a server to download, and I don't think that's $50 extra per person. Also, if you are from Australia, there are better places to buy games from Steam. When Steam has a sale, they do have good prices, but otherwise prices for Australia are just kind of bad. So there are other places, for example, GreenManGaming or OzGameShop are both really good things. I'll have links to their sites in the description. I use them frequently, and I find that they've got really decent prices. Anyway, this brings me to the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, and if you've got any comments about prices for IT products in Australia, put that down below. And if you want to join the Gamerhood, just subscribe. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.